Unit 2, Lesson 3, putting it all together. A race car's speed is represented by the graph. Write an equation to represent this graph. Pause it and try to write the equation. Okay, so your answer here should have been y equals 5x, right? The 5 is the unit rate. And let's look at the graph and remember how to do the unit rate. Remember, we always need our y over our x. Here's our y, which is 10, and our x, which is 2. So 10 divided by 2 equals 5. So y equals 5x. And remember, you could use any of these points and get the same answer. So you could use 20 and 4 or 30 and 6, etc. All right, so now that we have the equation, let's see if we can answer this question. You can use this equation to find how many miles the car will travel in 30 minutes. I should say, can you use this equation? So let's look at how we can use this equation. So we know that y is going to equal 5 times whatever x is. So if we look, x is the number of minutes. So we want to know how far will this car travel in 30 minutes. So instead of the x, I'm going to plug in 30. So if I have 30 times 5, it's going to give me y. So 5 times 30 is 150. So this tells me that in 30 minutes, the race car can travel 150 miles. If I were to put this on the graph, I would go over to 30, which would be somewhere over here, and up to 150, way up here. Probably can't even see it. And that line would continue right up and go through it. Okay, let's move on. So here's the same graph. Here's the equation, y equals 5x. And I just rewrote it so that you can see that 5x means 5 times x. So let's take a look at this table. Where did I get these points? Well, I got these values from the graph. So if you look, we can see here is 0, 0. It's right there. X is 2 and y is 10. That would be over 2, up 10. So that's that point. 4 and 20 is this point. 6 and 24 is this point. 8 and 40 is this point. Actually, this should be 6 and 30. I apologize. And then 10 and 50 would be right here. All right, now I left some blank spots. Let's see what would happen. What if we extended this graph and we went out to 12? I put a 12 here. So if I go up until I can find a point that would be on this line, it would be about right there. So let's see what that would be. Well, if I take this 12, because that's my x value, and plug it into the equation and work backwards, I can see that 5 times 12 is 60. So my y value would be 60. So over 12 and up 60 is right here. Let's extend it even further. Let's say that I use 20. If I make my x 20, see, so I'm taking out the x and plugging in the 20. That's what variables do, right? We can replace the variable with what it means. 5 times 20 equals 100. I'm going to put that right here. All right, so that means in 20 minutes, this race car can go 100 miles, right? And if I put this on the graph, it's going to be way up in the top right corner But if I extend this line, it's going to go all the way through that point, which would be 2100. So this is how it's all connected, right? We have x's and y's, and on the graph we have x's right here, and we have y's going up here. Okay? Let's take it one step further. All right, so again, we're going to still look at the same graph. Sometimes you may be asked, what does a particular point mean? Okay, so if we look at the point 2, 10, remember this is called an ordered pair, right? And if we find it on the graph, just like we did when we were in 5th grade, right? Let's see, over 2, up 10. We're talking about this point right here. What does that mean? So all we need to do is look at these coordinates. Well, this means 2 minutes. Let's write that down. 2 minutes. And this means 10 miles. Right? So it means that this race car can travel. So we're going to say the car can travel probably 10, we should probably put that first, 10 miles in 2 minutes. Let's look at the next point, 4 and 20. Let me see if I can change this color so you can see it better. Okay, 4 and 20 right here. Well, color didn't change, but we'll stick with it. So it means the car can travel 20 miles in 4 minutes. So the car can travel 20 miles in 4 minutes. And then pause this and try the next one. What does 1050 mean? Okay, good. It means that the car can travel 50 miles in 10 minutes. All right, so this is really just about reading the graph and understanding what the points mean. Okay, let's move on to what you're going to do in lesson 6. In lesson 6, we're continuing to put it all together. All right, so let's look at what it says. Gabby can travel 20 miles on 2 gallons of gas. Complete the unit box and find the unit rate in miles per gallon. Okay, so let's solve this just like we did in Unit 1. So what do we want to know? We want to know the unit rate in miles per gallon. So our unit box is going to be miles per gallon. Right? Now, the miles, we have 20 miles and 2 gallons. The miles is the 20. And it's not letting me write, so let's write it in here. So we have the 20. Okay, and so now we get 20, I'm sorry, this should be 20 miles in 2 gallons. Right? So 20 divided by 2, we get 10, right? So 10 miles per gallon. Good. Okay, so this is our unit rate. Now remember how important this number is. We're going to use it to fill in the rest of this information. So let's see. This means 10 miles per 1 gallon. Remember, so 1 gallon we know is 10 miles. Let's go up top. 0 gallons, we go 0 miles, right? Because we're not moving, we're not using any gas. And notice we're multiplying by 10 every time, right? Because that's our unit rate. So 2 times 10 is 20, and that's already there for us. 3 times 10 is going to give us 30. 4 times 10, 40. Now when we go backwards, we're going to divide by 10. because we're undoing multiplication. So we get 5, okay? So we have 0, 0. If we were going to turn these into ordered pairs, we have 0, 0, 1, 10, 2 and 20, 3 and 30, 4 and 40, and 5 and 50. Okay, so now let's take these numbers and put it on the graph. Now we know that there's a constant rate of 10, so we can predict that this graph is going to be a straight line and it's going to start at 0, 0. So our first point is 0, 0, and then we have 110, 220, 330, 440, and 550, and we can see we have a nice straight line. Well, we're going to make believe my line is straight from 0. Good. Okay. Now this is the analysis. This is where we have to really see what does it all mean. So what is the constant of proportionality or the unit rate? Well, right here, 10. It's 10 or 10 miles per gallon. Next, write an equation in the form y equals kx that models the relationship. Well, we know an equation, we have y equals the unit rate and then x. Let's plug in what was our k, or our constant rate, or our unit rate, and it was 10. So there's our equation. Next, what does this point 440 represent? Well, let's see. Here it is right here. Right? It means 40 miles on 4 gallons, right? So it means 40 miles on 4 gallons, or per 4 gallons, right? And if I fill my tank, or if Gabby fills her car with 4 gallons of gas, she can travel 40 miles on that. And now, how far can Gabby travel on 6 gallons of gas? Well, let's look. The gallons is down here, right? So we want to know right here on 6 gallons of gas. So if we go up, we have to kind of estimate where it would be. But let's plug it into our equation. We know our equation is y equals 10x, where x is the gallons. So instead of the x, if we make that 6 gallons and we multiply it by 10, we can see that we get 60. So how far can Gabby travel? She can travel for 60 miles. And we can actually see that on the graph right up here. 40, 50, 60 would be up here somewhere, and the line would go right through it. Okay, so this is a lot of information, putting it all together. Please refer back to this anytime you're confused.